Welcome to our Friday night sports show segment on Who's Going Where. It is our country football look at the players that are having movement from one club to another and some across state boundaries. So here we go with Who's Going Where. Now, there's some money that could be coming to the Donald Football Club if the Liberal and National are elected at this forthcoming Victoria election, with $700,000 being dedicated towards a new community hub and female-specific change rooms at the Donald Oval. It would help women and girls participate in sport with a better quality of amenity, and the club is proud to have the Liberal and National Party commit that $700,000 towards those facilities. Having a look now at the North Central Football League and who's going where. Last week we had a lot of Birchip Watcham material. I took the liberty of going up the road a little bit, and Sea Lake Nandaly have announced their coaches, Billy McGuinness and Bryce Delmenico. So they'll be right at it to get back into grand final contention after getting rolled in the preliminary final, the Sea Lake Nandaly Tigers. They got some kids coming through, and it's very fair to say that they won the premiership last year in the under-17 grade. They were absolutely magnificent, won 12-14 to 2-8 over Charlton. Young Isaac Jury, this is son of Cole. He's a tall lad, Isaac, and he could well find himself running around in senior football. But I reckon Tom Cox is one that will go well. They got another couple of good players in Jet Newick. He's a pretty good player and kicks some goals. And Jed Daniels, another one. Cooper Allen could go all right. Will Conlon, Ethan Ellis, Max Cahoon, and Brock Crow. They're all very good young footballers. Nate McClellan. These lads all will feature, I think, in senior football sometime soon, whether it be in the ones or in the twos or still in the 17s if they come under the age group for the Sea Lake Nandaly Tigers. Jordan Barth is the big recruit thus far. He's coming from Donald. He's been a very good footballer too, Jordan. And of course, had played in that grand final that Donald lost to Birchip Watcham. The big name that they've recruited at Sea Lake is Matthew Farrelly. He's ex-Bendigo and also played some footy down in the Geelong VFL, so he is a very good name that they've recruited to the North Central and to the Sea Lake Nandaly Tigers. And outside of that, across our broadcast regions in Victoria and New South Wales, I made some inquiries about the Sunraysia and in particular the O United Kangas. I got very little because they said that they've lost more players than have actually come in, but they will be making some positive announcements pretty soon. I did note, though, that there is a group of some reserve grade footballers that are going to try their hand up in the Millua, up at Nangalok. So on good authority, about 4 players going that way. A couple of other lads we've mentioned previously, the Smith boys, are heading down to play with the Southern Mallee Giants. So we'll get more on the Own United Kangas as they make some announcements for their recruiting. But let's head across to New South Wales. And one of the great acronyms for football, Corrine Daysdale Hopefield Barudja Football Netball Club. That's the CDHBU, and that is a big mouthful, but it's going to be a big job for Kyle Doherty. He's taken on the senior playing coach for 2023, and he's got a lot of experience. He was last season in the assistant role and played pretty well too for the club. Just got married recently too, which is great to Renee, so we'll look forward to seeing how he goes with CDHBU into the big season. There's a lot ahead and a lot of who's going where as we continue our segment into South Australia. As the silly season, some call it, as we head into Christmas, it's got football turning around at the moment. Even though it's the off-season, I thought we'd get Big Bruce, who's covering it for his Murraylands the football page and his sporting results, and he's with us now. Brucey, it's a very big off-season. I haven't seen so many photographs of some president shaking some bloke's hand.
Yeah, they certainly are. There's some players out there that have got more clubs than Greg Norman, but they're starting to get up with me, Flowman. But I tell you what, there's some big movement around. And look, we'll just have a start with the River Murray Football League. And look, we see in the last few weeks or days a couple of big outs in the competition in the likes of Manham losing Harris and Hawkins, a big loss for the Manham Roos. Let's have a look at the coaches through the list. Adam Moller will be the inaugural coach at the Coorong Cats. So, of course, Coach Meningi last year and done an extremely great job. Of course, a former premiership player at Meningie back in the early 2000s, about 2001, Flowman.
And he was actually a very good backman and played in the ruck in his earlier years, but I was intrigued by the amalgamation because it meant that Nathan Stark, who was at the BDT club, they've amalgamated to become the Coorong Cats. Stark is now going over to what will be the old adversary, and I would say the big rivalry, Tailem Bend, is his home now. So that's a big move from Nathan Stark.
Oh, it certainly is a big move, and obviously he wanted to coach, and he didn't get the job down there, so he put in for Tailem Bend because, of course, the big 9-seater bus has pulled in there. There's a few players that have jumped on, and Corey Smelt, of course, announced yesterday the new coach of the Wallaroo Footy Club up there in the York Peninsula. A big move there by Corey Smelt out from Tailem Bend, and Nathan Stark, he moves in to pilot the Eagles, and he'll be a playing coach, one would think. So, interesting move there. The new club out there in the River Murray, the Suns, will be piloted by Nick Hyde. Of course, Nick Hyde, just an absolute gun footballer, and we thank Nick Hyde at Murraylands Football and Netball Sporting Results. The coverage and the access that Pinaroo gave us in the grand final was just exceptional, and some of our videos from that day in the grand final up around 100,000 hits, and that's just mind-boggling. So well done to Nick Hyde, and look, I think he's the man for the job. He really is cool, calm and collective, and he's the Rock of Gibraltar there across the half-back line, so good appointment there for the Suns. The other new team, Flowman, the Storm. Storming in there, pardon the pun, is Adam Clun. Well, this wasn't rocket science. Cluny's done a great job at, of course, the Pekin Districts, and got some credentials in SANFL. Great appointment there by the Storm with Adam Clun.
Yeah, good one for them. It's interesting out of Murray Bridge because we see that there's an interesting appointment at Ramblers. They picked up Mark Thurston to coach. Imps, though, a new coach in Brett Todd.
Yeah, of course, Scotty McMahon taking a position down in Adelaide in the Sanford. I think it's with Sturt, isn't it? Sort of a coaching role or assistant role down there. So good luck to Scott McMahon. Big loss for Imperials, isn't he? Just the general across that half-back line, Mr. Cool, and just a great leader and a big loss for Imperials. But one door shuts, another one opens, and it's open for Brett Todd, and he is a good inclusion there for the Imperials. What about this one, Flowman? I'm intrigued by this one. Out there at Mypolonga, they have almost got the wheelchair out. They've whacked a bit of grease in it, greased it up, and they've put Stevie Sumner in it, and he is back.
I'll tell you, Brucey, you and I played football with Stevie Sumner. That's how far he goes back.
Oh, look, it doesn't matter how far you go back, Flowman. You don't lose it. Stevie Sumner, he is switched on. He's got a really good football brain, and he'll get the best out of these players. And, a surprise move in my book. I thought Matt Lindner might have got the chocolates again, but out with Matt Lindner and in with Stevie Sumner. So, no disrespect with the opening line there. Stevie, a good mate, and he will fit those shoes very well and get the best out. I'd expect Mypolonga to rise up that premiership ladder.
Yeah, well, Ben Quinn's got the Manham coaching job, and we believe that Tate Silverlock will have the Jervois job. Bruce, I'm going to see how we go now with some clubs and some very interesting appointments in the KNT. Pathway have got Kieran Hicks, the coach. The school teacher, he's got a good teaching resume, this fellow, and now he's going to be teaching the kids to play at Pathway.
Well, isn't that great? You've got the credentials there, and I'm sure those teaching credentials will come through in his coaching. But looking at what I've heard around, I think Pathway seem to have the most movement, don't they, at the present time?
A lot of movement with Sam Buckham and Mitch Cotter, I should say. Now, Mitch is a very good player. Played, I think, 7 league games for Nord. And Sam's played a lot of reserves for Nord and also over at the Prince Alfred Old Collegians too. So I think that's a couple of good players. Tommy Edwards, Will Rivers, Kai Fashaki and Darcy Boyanton, they've all signed again to stay with the club. And a couple of other new ones. Dan Fraser from Ross Trevor Old Collegians. He'll be shirting up in blue and gold in the KNT. over at the Crowland, Bruce, at Keith, and they've announced Dylan McNeil. Now, Dylan was on the Sydney Swans list. He's formerly from Albury, played some footy at Glenelg, has been in Div 1 in the old Ignations down in the amateurs this last year, and he joins the Keith Crows in a very big appointment.
Oh, that's a huge appointment. And look, the Keith Crows, it would be the closest team from Adelaide. So the travelling still a fair distance, isn't it, to commit each week? So a great commitment there. And I'm sure he'll get the Crows up and about in 2023.
Yeah, well, they were runners-up and they want to go one better against Lucendale. They got 3 kids coming back to the club. Riley Wilston, he's been at Westminster College down in Adelaide. He's returning, along with Blake and Colby Reid. Now, those 2 fellas have been playing out at Goody Saints. And Andrew Cousins was off the field for the whole of the season in 2022. He's coming back to play in 2023 with his injuries overcome. And Tommy Geyer has just signed on, which is another big name for the Keith Crows.
Yeah, of course, Tommy Geyer had a bit of a kick there with the Tailem Bend and the River Murray, so just down the road, so to speak. So a good pick up there. Do you have any more on that, on them?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I got another one for you. Tommy Whittlesey, he was one of my favourites last year. He played in the SA Countryside. He's been announced as the coach of the Bordertown Footy Club. And do they need a really big season? They've gone out. We're going to cover them in another edition of Who's Gone Where. But I'll tell you what, that is a very good appointment for the Bordertown Red and Whites.
Yeah, they've also picked up there right in front of me, of course, Jed Jarrett, who's coming back home to Bordertown. So a very handy pickup, a past premiership player. So he'll be really welcome back there, Jed Jarrett, a good signing there for them. Also picked up, this is the one I like, Flowman. They've got some very exciting news down there, and the new recruit of Tyson Hoffman to the Bordertown Roosters. So that's a huge in. Of course, Hoffman coming from the Wollonga Football Club. And boy, oh boy, hasn't he straightened Wollonga up in front of goals in the last few seasons. A prolific goal kicker, and he'll be very handy in that forward area to find the big white sticks for Bordertown.
Yeah, I think so, and a really good addition to Tommy Whittlesey's group. Well, we're going to cover Who's Gone Where on our segment here each Friday night. Big Bruce here to join us across South Australia, and I've got the coverage for Victoria and New South Wales, as we heard earlier. It's going to be good fun doing this, Bruce, each week into Christmas and then after Christmas as we get prepared for the new footy season. Thanks for joining us here on the Friday Night Sports Show.
See you next week.